Okay, a couple of days ago, we gave you the Space Marine Captain video for Armageddon, and today's video, we're going to follow that up with its kind of partner and give you the Ork Warboss video today. This Warboss may seem in pictures like a normal Warboss, but he is gigantic. I will show you some pictures of him at the end of the video compared to other things so you can see how truly large he is, how much bigger he is to even other older Ork Warbosses. He's pretty cool. Before we get into that video though, I just want a huge thank you to everyone out there for continuing to support, liking videos, watching videos, commenting, and making sure you're subscribed. It's super important, so please do that. It makes the channel grow faster and more people see them and more people watch, and it's just a perpetual thing. And everyone out there who goes the extra mile and supports over on Patreon, you guys literally keep the lights on and the cameras rolling. It's a million reasons to join the Patreon. You get extra videos, you get access to a podcast, you get access to a private Discord server, and we do weekly or monthly giveaways on the channel. This month we are giving away a full Armageddon box set. So if you want to be on the chance of winning a full Armageddon box set, never opened, delivered anywhere in the world at my expense, all you need to do is be signed up to Patreon at any tier. Okay, with that out of the way, let's dive in and get this awesome Ork Warboss painted up. So here is the Ork Warboss from the Armageddon set, and if you can't tell from him in the size of my hand, he is massive. He definitely will stand out in an Ork army as the boss, which is all we ever really wanted from a Warboss. The model has been sprayed black and then grey sear, the perfect starting point for any contrast project. And then we move straight on to Plague Bear Flesh just to block in all of the skin, so you can figure out where it all is. And it's at this point that I did decide that I wanted to do the rusted metallic look for all of his equipment and then do the red paneling like my kill rig and my war track. I definitely think I'm going to do all the Armageddon bits and pieces in the same style. So that means I had to grab my Ronax hide and go around this entire miniature and block in all of the metallic parts, whether it's his bandolier of ammunition, whether it's his shooter, his chopper, the banner pole, his armored helmet, shoulder pads, his armored boots. There's so much to it, so it did take a minute or two to go around and block in all of those sections. And as you can see, it's quite a lot of sections. When that was all done, we did grab our Riser Rust paint, making sure that the Ronax hide was fully dried. And then we stippled/assaulted the model with a stipple brush and got orange into all those nooks and crannies, leaving behind this kind of mottled effect, which will sell it as rust very nicely. If you don't have a stipple brush or don't know how to do a stipple brush, all you do is grab an old dry brush that you don't like anymore, that's kind of had its day, and you cut the bristles about halfway down. They become a lot stiffer and they work perfect for stippling. Fire Dragon Bright was then brought in to do exactly the same step as the previous one, but just a little bit less. This will obviously give you that two-tone effect of the different shades of rust throughout it, and it looks so good over the top of the brown. When that's all done, we simply grab a nice fresh dry brush and some lead belcher paint, and you very lightly dry brush up all of these metallics with that silver paint, which will add that kind of chipping and stuff, as if this is a rusted item, but it's still very much heavily used, so it's still going to have those like bright scratches on the edges and like kind of rub wear and stuff like that. And as you can see, the rust already looks fantastic. Now it's time to make it look like it was painted pristinely before, and over time it has worn away. So we grab some Mephiston Red, and we're going to paint this in the middle of all the different armor panel parts that you want to be red. You want to leave the edges with that nice brown and silver rusty sections, and just the center of panels you want to go in and almost stipple again, but obviously you're not using a stipple brush, you're using a nice brush. As you can see, the movement that I'm doing is going kind of in and out, and just kind of dabbing the paint onto the panel. This will once again give that impression that it's not like a pristine, this wasn't in an auto body shop and sprayed perfect, like it was just a grot was told to paint this red and he did a terrible job. So yeah, you're not looking for perfection here. So this is how it should look when you've gotten that first step on, and then we're going to just jump up to Evil Sunz Scarlet and repeat the process again, but just going inside the red then. So you want to leave that nice darker red around all the outside, and then just a little bit of Evil Sunz Scarlet inside the middle sections, just to make the paint pop a little bit more, and looks really nice. We do go back in again with a very light silver dry brush after this, to once again help that blend together. I actually don't know where that footage was. Maybe I didn't hit record at all, but it wasn't there. So yes, once again, go back, very light silver, like way lighter than the previous one, and just basically go over the piece, and it will finish off that red armor perfectly. With all of the armor and metal stuff done on the model, it's time to start blocking in some of the other colors. So we grabbed our Black Templar contrast paint first, and we blocked in all those sections that need to be black. For him, it's his big stompy boots. Now remember, they're steel toe cap, and he's got a nice armored shin and a nice armored heel that we've put a lot of time and effort into with the rust technique. So I want to be careful not to hit those. And then we're going to give him a black shirt, and all the piping that you can see is going to be black, and all those kind of bits and pieces. So go find all the bits you want black and do them. Silicanum grey was then brought in just for his trousers, basically. So block those in with grey if you so wish. This will match my Ork boys. So yeah, it's the color I chose. I think it really works. For me, there's definitely different like layers of detail on models. So for instance, his shirt and his trousers and his boots, they don't really matter if they're just painted, if they just have a color on them. And they look neat and tidy. Your eye is never going to focus on those sections when you look down at an Ork Warboss like this. You're only ever going to see all of his equipment, weapons, armor, that back banner, and the Ork skin. Everything else gets pushed to the background, and just, yeah. So don't worry too much. We don't need like 6 stages of edge highlight on, you know, his belt buckle. No one cares. No one's going to see it. Okay, time to go with some brushwork again and block in that banner. So it's obviously got 2 edge panels and then the back, but I did those in Mephiston red. And then I went in with some Black Templar contrast and did the center panel in black. There's also a chain hanging down with a little skull with some Space Marine armor on the back of it. So I very quickly blocked it in with silver, bone, and then a little bit of yellow for the Imperial Fist armor. Nothing crazy. Time to start shading the model. Now, obviously, we're not going to shade the armor. That's already done, but everything else needs a little bit of shade work. So we're going to grab our Berserker Blood Shade, water it down a little bit, and then apply this all over the Ork skin. And then when you have this applied, we are going to grab some Agrax Earth Shade, thin down again just a little bit, and apply to, obviously, all of the black, brown, and gray sections across the entire model. The entire banner is going to get done and stuff like that. So while those were drying, I did throw some texture paste on his base, just to save some time, 2 birds with 1 stone. And then when that shade was all fully dry, it was time to start layering it up. The first thing we're going to do is the skin. And for this, we're going to go for Strachan Green, Ogren Camo, and Krieg Khaki. And those are the 3 tones that I'm going to go and build up through to make the Ork skin tone that I like, which is kind of more realistic Ork skin than the kind of crazy cartoony green skin. So each to their own. I've done a video showing you 3 different ways of painting Ork skin. So if you like everything what I'm doing in this video, but you're not a big fan of this skin tone that I chose, go back and watch that video, pick one of the other 2 skins. I just substitute it in this video and it'll all make perfect sense. So as you can see, I'm carefully building up that Strachan green color. Obviously not filling in all of the nice red shaded shadowy parts built into the armpits and in between muscles and stuff like that, and his face, all those creases. We did also throw a Volupus pink contrast into his mouth, covering his teeth, his gums, his tongue, all that. Ogren Camo is now brought in, and obviously you can see I'm being more careful, and I'm highlighting up all those sections again. Once again, just like that red armor, we're basically repeating the steps. We're just applying less, and we're kind of going in between the last highlights. And this is basically how you layer something up. It's quite simple once you get the hang of it. And this will obviously add all the definition and depth to one of the focal points, like I said, being the skin and face of the model. So it is worth spending that little bit of extra time. And then the Krieg Khaki for the final result. As you can see, I'm going very, very light. I'm leaving behind very little paint, but it is elevating that skin up that last step, just making it look really nice. Bit of Morghast bone was brought in, and we just used this to paint the teeth. And I did actually go back in with a Ushapti bone and did the tips of the teeth again, just to make them pop a little bit more. So if you want to do that, feel free. Corvus Black was then used to highlight the black sections, so obviously the black shirt. the center of the banner and some pipe work in his black gloves and stuff like that. So just go around, try and find them. Like I said, we're trying to push these details into the background. You don't need to go crazy. This is all the highlighting that I'm doing on that shirt. As you can see, it took about 2 seconds to go across it. Evil Sun Scarlet, Wild Rider Red, and Taillight Ochre were brought in to highlight the red sections of the model that aren't a part of the armor. So realistically, it's just the back banner. Once again, you can do the extra effort on these bits because we'll see when someone looks down and sees your Warboss, the back banner is going to stand out a mile. So I would recommend putting a little bit more effort into it. I, in fact, even throw 3 transfers across the front of it just to kind of make it blend in and look nice. Wild Rider Red was then brought in to highlight the next section. As you can see, I'm following the direction in which the banner is kind of flowing. That's the way my brush streaks are going. That will help emphasize the kind of shape and design, and it shows where those highlights kind of should be. And then we go with that Taillight Ochre, which is just a very light touches, corners and stuff like that along some of the edges. And then as you can see, I will do a couple of little brief brush strokes. Once again, they're going the direction that the banner is flowing, which will obviously help sell that. Mechanica Standard Grey, used to highlight those grey trousers we did with the Basilicanum Grey contrast earlier on. Quick, simple step, nothing crazy. We're not going to jump up 2 extra layers of edge highlighting for grey pants. Not at all. Hadachan flesh was then used for all of the Bransau's pouches, all the belts and buckles and straps, holding all of his equipment on. Now, originally I had intended on just doing Catachan flesh and leaving it like that, but it was a little bit too dark and it did blend in with all of the black sections a little bit. So I did actually go and mix a little bit of bone into Catachan flesh to brighten it up a little bit. And then I went back in and did this re-highlight here. And this separated it from the other details enough for me that I was happy enough to leave it like that. Finished off the base and I started to add my pigment powder. Obviously I like the Armageddon look for my orcs, so I went in with some nice yellow rust pigment, which will sell it as that kind of desert look. And unlike the pristine Space Marines, I did actually start applying this kind of up the orc's legs, kind of around the banner a little bit more wear and tear on the orc. It's okay, the spray varnish will remove 99% of this, but it will just help the orc to look a little bit more kind of ragtag and worn, which I think suits an orc down to the ground. So like I said, we then just throw a Minotaurum varnish spray across the entire piece. And this is the final result. You can see the transfers I put on his banner, how well the pigment blended into the model and the base. And we now have another model ticked off of our Armageddon list, and the Ork Warboss finally complete and ready for war. Super pleased with how he turned out. Let me know in the comments what you think yourself. A couple of dark brooding images of him, and then of course a few images to compare his size to other things. Thank you guys so much for sticking around and enjoying this video. I hope you're looking forward to a few more Armageddon videos before we finally put a pin in this project.